Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Blue Sky's live corporate webinar. This is Will Mays, and I'm with RB Milestone. Blue Sky is a uranium mining company in a unique market niche and is traded on the TSXV under the symbol BSK and on the OTC under ticker BKUCF. Joining us today is the company's CEO and President, Nikolaos Cacos, and Vice President of Exploration and Development, Guillermo Pensado. They will be going over Blue Sky's investor presentation and will include an overview of current operations, recent achievements, and upcoming milestones. At the end of the presentation, we'll be opening up for Q&A for management to address. If you are interested in asking a question or logged into the Zoom app or web platform, you can submit your questions directly into the Q&A module. Please note that this presentation is being recorded today, Thursday, February 3rd, 2022, and will soon be made available on the company's website at blueskyuranium.com. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit rbmilestone.com. And with that, it is now my pleasure to introduce CEO and President Nikolaos Cacos and Guillermo Pensado, Vice President of Exploration and Development. Gentlemen, take it away.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, Will. Thank you, everybody, for attending our presentation. I understand some in the audience probably have heard our presentation before. We're going to go, for the benefit of those who haven't, Guillermo and I will go through this presentation relatively quickly, but we also have some updates regarding some news that we put out just yesterday. So Blue Sky Uranium Corp is a very unique mining, uranium mining exploration company. We are advancing not just a new uranium deposit in southern Argentina, but an entire new district is what we've discovered, a district that has the potential to rank amongst the largest uranium vanadium districts in the world, like we see in Kazakhstan, with some of the lowest operating costs. A very bold statement, I might say, and this presentation, I do believe, will bear that statement out. This, by the way, I should add that this presentation is available on our company's website for you to download at your leisure. But please, would like to bring attention to this disclaimer and cautionary language, as throughout the presentation we will be making some forward-looking statements. Let's step back and look at investment highlights for why one should even consider investing in the Blue Sky and in the uranium market. Well, number one, the uranium market has been very buoyant in the last couple of years, and the outlook for that is for the uranium market to continue going up. A very bullish scenario, which I believe is still at the very beginning. There's a big supply deficit. We'll go through some of that, and we'll see that there's also a very unique business opportunity for Blue Sky in Argentina, as we'll find out that Argentina is a very nuclear country that has a need for local domestically produced uranium. The project itself, like I said, is first of all, we do have a deposit just under 23 million pounds of uranium and 11.5 million pounds of vanadium. So there is a value there. But the key here, of course, is that it's open for expansion. This is an enormous district, as we'll see, that has a strike length going up to 145 kilometers in length, truly district scale, with uranium potential mineralization throughout this entire district. And we'll go through most of that in detail in the next coming slides. Now here on this slide here, we see a map of Argentina. And if you go down towards the middle, the large oblong yellow blob, you'll see that's Amarillo Grande, our uranium district that we're talking about here. It's an enormous package of property comprised of over 300,000 hectares of property. The company itself, of course, is managed by the Grosso Group. Grosso Group Management Limited is a pioneer in Argentina since the country of Argentina liberalized its investment laws to allow foreign investment back in 1993. Grosso Group has been very successful in that country as they've operated there continuously since then. An award-winning organization and with a lot of success, have made 4 major discoveries, including the Amarillo Grande discovery. More specifically, the management team, I'll touch on a few key personnel. First and foremost, of course, is Mr. Joe Grosso. Joe is the chairman and director of the company and also the largest shareholder of the company. He's also the president and founder of Grosso Group Management. Joe is a very well-known mining executive in Argentina. He's been inducted into Argentina's Mining Hall of Fame and brings to Blue Sky a true competitive advantage. And another person I'll draw attention is to Guillermo, who's on this presentation as well. You'll get to meet in a few moments. Guillermo is a geologist with nearly 25 years of experience in the uranium industry, and also an award-winning geologist. He was awarded Exploration Geologist of the Year just relatively recently. And then Chuck Edwards, last but not least, is a metallurgist that was the chief metallurgist for Cameco for many, many years. He held many prominent international positions, a true worldwide respected professional. He's been the one that's been doing all the engineering and mineral processing and metallurgy work for our company. Uranium, I won't go too much about it, but suffice to say that the demand for uranium is continuing to go up. Driving that demand is a global acceptance of nuclear power throughout the world. And just, in fact, just recently, I'm seeing that even in Europe, nuclear power has been placed on the green list as an accepted form of power that doesn't generate carbon and reduces the carbon footprint. So we're seeing that more and more nuclear reactors being built, and that, of course, is driving the demand for uranium. And the supply, of course, is projected to continue not to be able to meet that demand. And what that means in simple economics is that the price is going up. And we've seen that happening since back in 2018, when the price was under $20 a pound of uranium. And now it's in the mid 40s and projected to go much higher. Production, the world's uranium mostly comes from Kazakhstan, nearly half of it. And that has to do with the low cost nature of the production of uranium in that country. And we'll see that Blue Sky's Amarillo Grande has many similarities to the types of geology that produces uranium in Kazakhstan. And the pricing of uranium, I'm just going to state that, you know, the price is set not necessarily by the spot market, because it's usually set between a utility and a mine. They strike a long-term contract up to 15 years, and there's usually a premium to the spot. Price of uranium usually makes up a very, very small percentage of the overall cost of running a nuclear reactor. So, there's, when a nuclear reactor needs uranium, there's no hesitance to pay a premium for that. And like I said at the outset, most investors don't realize that Argentina is a very sophisticated nuclear country. In fact, they have a long history of being in nuclear business since back in the early 1950s, almost as long as in the United States. And they have developed they're involved in every facet of the nuclear cycle, and, you know, all the way from nuclear power generators. They've got uranium enrichment plants, particle accelerators, and so forth. They manufacture and export small modular reactors, and there's many more reactors that are being built right now. But one facet that the Argentine government is not involved in is in the production of uranium. There's no domestic supply of uranium, so the country is forced to import sourced uranium outside of the country at a premium. And this is where Blue Sky's even current deposit is the largest and most advanced deposit in Argentina. We can be set up to make Argentina our first domestic customer. And with that, I'll pass it over to Guillermo, who will give everyone an overview of the Amarillo Grande project. Guillermo?
Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Thanks for visiting us for this presentation. We'll start to tell about this project, Amarillo Grande project, in a country well underexplored, not only for mining in general, but for uranium in particular. Next, please. Amarillo Grande is a project 100% discovered by Blue Sky back in 2006. That show the under exploration in this country. This is in the northern portion of Patagonia at the Rio Negro province, where was uranium discovery just on surface by one of our consultant geologists with great experience in Argentina. And this exploration led to discover an entire district for almost 10 years of prospecting, and finally defining the more important exploration area that we defined it in 2017, and where we finally went into intensive drilling exploration and finally discovered and delineated the Ivana deposit, where rapidly we tried to run a preliminary economic assessment to prove for ourselves, but also for the industry, that this new district had the capacity to comprise potential economic deposit. Next, please. So the project is located at Rio Negro province. This is the northern portion of Patagonia in Argentina. It's a natural resource open province. You can see exploration in mining, but also oil and gas with good infrastructure, but where we are located with very low population density and very low rain that permit to work year round. Next, please. So the mineralization itself, as I mentioned at the discovery point, was uranium on surface. What it was discovered was this yellow mineral coating that pebble in the upper picture. This is carnotite, a uranium vanadium mineral, which is at this district is commonly found on surface and represent the typical mineral for superficial type deposit as those in Africa or in Australia. But what we finally found when we started our intensive drilling program in 2017, that this upper superficial mineralization was the superficial expression of a huge sandstone type uranium deposit model seen in depth near surface also, but with significant exploration potential as those observed in United States or Kazakhstan. The fact that we have mineralization from surface or near surface means that our exploration program represent very low cost because we are drilling in the upper 50 meters from surface, but also in a potential future production because that mineralization is located in sediment which are not consolidated or poorly consolidated. You don't need drilling and blasting or crushing for processing. So that means that we have very low exploration cost, but potentially in the future, very low exploration operating cost. Next, please. So initially comparing the geology, something that the geologists do to understand the potential of the district where you are working. This is have many similarities to the geology in Kazakhstan. It's a fluvial system active since upper Mesozoic to tertiary with potential to comprise due to the geology multiple deposit along a potential trapped zone, which call the redox fronts. And some of those deposits could be as significant as at Inkai mine in Kazakhstan, which has more than 200 million pounds of uranium with similar grades to those observed at our initial discovery Ivana deposit. Next, please. So once we defined that we have found this deposit, we went into an initial resource estimation where we define it almost 23 million pounds U3O8 at a grade of 0.03% U3O8 as observed at Inca mine, but also containing vanadium, 11.5 million pounds, which because it's in the same mineral carnotite, most of that uranium, you can recuperate both in the same processing. So it's a good credit for the economic of the district. Next, please. So the deposit itself is located from surface or near surface, 1 or 2 meters just from surface, down to 25, maximum 30 meters in depth. So it's a very shallow deposit following a mineralization zone of almost 5 kilometers, which is open to the west, as you can see at this map, where you can see pit sampling. Now part of the result that I will show later is covering that northern portion of that, showing the expansion of this deposit, and we are still waiting more results. So this is the initial resource estimation for the Ivana deposit located in the southernmost sector of the district, or the Amarillo project, that potentially may comprise more deposits like this one. Next, please. Once we define the resources, we had to prove that we can recuperate, and due to market condition, we started this when the uranium price was $20 per pound. We had to find something that could be economically competitive with the market. So we could define that mineralization, because it's located as a coating in the pebbles or in the very fine material between the grains, you can easily separate that material with all the fine material, reducing and taking out the coarse material. That's generate a pre-concentrate, which increase your initial grade almost 4 times. And this pre-concentrate material goes into the second stage of processing delineated, which is an alkaline leaching processing, low environmental impact technology that, because it's low environmental impact, also reduce your cost. It's very easy to do it. Use a chemical which are easy to find in the market, and that's represent a lower cost for giving the entire processing an overall recovery of 85% for uranium and 53% for vanadium. Next, please. So once we prove that we have at least one economic deposit, potential economic deposit, and that the material or the uranium there could be recuperated by processing, we had to prove how we could mine that deposit. And because it's on surface, as I mentioned, you finally can mine this kind of deposit like a sediment or sand quarry, where you take all the material, process that material, and the idea is to refill or backfill the pit where you took the material and do your remediation at the same time of operating. So that helped that by the end of the processing or the mine life of the deposit, you recuperated or remediated the zone. Next, please. So once we got the volume, minimum economic deposit volume, we proved that we can recuperate and inform how to do it and how we could mine that kind of deposit. We ran a preliminary economic assessment to see if this could be potentially economic, and Nico gonna summarize for you.
Yeah, so thanks, Guillermo. So we did do a preliminary economic assessment, even though the project, the Amarillo Grande project was at a relatively early stage. And the reason for that was we wanted to see, when the price then of uranium was hovering around $20 a pound, before we sink additional funds to continue exploring, do we have an economic deposit here? Do we have a competitive deposit? And so we executed this PEA. And what we found, and I'm going to bring your attention to two real metrics here. Number one, we really focused in on the capital cost, like how much does it cost to build up a mine of this for a deposit of this size. And what we found that was around $100 million plus a $28 million contingency. That was an important number to remember, because our objective here is to go from Ivana and look around within a radius of about 30 kilometers and see if we can develop satellite deposits within that area without having to really increase or change that capital cost very much, but to find additional deposits within that zone. So that gives us a fairly good idea of a fixed capital cost. And then the second thing, of course, was how much does it actually cost to take a pound of uranium out of the ground? And what we found is just over $16 a pound, or if you include all-in sustaining costs, just over $18 a pound. Even when uranium was at $20, this was, wow, this could be economic even at that time. But to really put it in perspective, what we did is we took these numbers from the PEA, we plotted them on this bar chart, and that's shown in the red bar there, and compared it across other producing mines around the world. And what we found was that if we had put Ivana into production at that time, we would rank amongst the lowest first quartile costs of all uranium producers in the world. Now, as a businessman looking at this early stage, you're thinking, okay, this is economic. So let's get out there and execute the second stage of our strategy, which is, of course, to find additional deposits. And that's exactly where we're at right now. Now, stepping back, and here's a picture of the Amarillo Grande entire property package, and you can see here, numbered are the targets that we plan to focus on. But more specifically, we plan, target number one, of course, is the Ivana deposit. And what we've done is we've announced 3,500 meters of drilling here with a twofold objective. One is to do additional infill drilling so we can tighten up and upgrade the quality of this resource. But the second thing is also to step out and to see, can we grow the Ivana deposit from what it is right now? Other indications of exploration work that we had done indicated that we could. And we'll talk about that in the next slide, because we got our first batch of results back and they look very, very exciting. The next thing, of course, is also we have another 4,500 meter drill program. It's to test targets numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are all targets within the Ivana zone. And like I said during the PEA slide, the idea is to see if we can develop satellite deposits that can feed a single plant. And this is exactly where we're at right now. We're finishing up drilling on number 1. And the other targets, I think in about a month's time, we're going to start moving and start drilling on those other targets there. So we'll have lots of news coming out in the coming months here. But like I said, the step out drilling from the resource, Guillermo, you want to talk about this?
Okay, this is just a portion of the holes already drilled. As mentioned at the press release, at this point we have more than 200 holes. When I mentioned 200, for you probably it's a lot of holes, but remember that our average depth at the deposit of drilling is 15 meters. In this zone particularly, because we are in the western extension of the deposit, is 5 meters with maximum 11 meters in one of the holes. They are only 26 holes with results. So this is just the initial result. But what we have seen at this point, we are confirming the results observed by pit sampling before. And as you can see, this line, the black line at the geochemistry map in the upper right is the border of the resource estimation done back in 2018. And what we are trying to do with this program is trying to extend that mineralization to the west, drill all the zone that potentially made some pounds to the deposit, with the idea to move in the second half of the year to a pre-feasibility study with all the area closed in knowledge from potential expansion and mineralization in areas with low density drilling. Results as expecting for that zone, because we know the mineralization. We have 3 meters grading 1 pound, particularly in this zone, we are seeing more vanadium than the average of the deposit. And this is understood because we are in the upper portion of the deposit, which is more carnotite mineralization rather than coffinite, which is the main mineralization in depth. We are in the upper oxidation zone, and which is a mineralization that is very easy to leach, and some more vanadium because carnotite is a uranium vanadate mineral. That's, I think it's a good summary.
So that, I mean, from our results, I think we've seen, like I said, like Guillermo has said, I think we've seen that positive results. It looks like this is going to, we found additional uranium and vanadium, and, we'll be looking to incorporate that in our resource study. Interesting to note that the average grade in many cases of the uranium is higher than the average grade of the PEA resource. And it'll be interesting to see, exciting to see what the additional results will be coming in. 260 holes is a lot of holes, and we'll be adding a lot more to this. And this, Guillermo, is stepping out the drilling of the other targets that we begun and planning.
Yes, because we are running like 2 programs almost at the same time. We are doing or closing the Ivana deposit itself with this drilling program, trying to expand and prepare for a near future pre-feasibility study. But also we need to prove the second step in our thesis, that we have more deposits along this entire district. So we were running a program initiating 2020, standby due to pandemic time. We resumed it last year, and we have some delays due to permits, but we expect to be resuming this program the end of February, March, where the goal is to define or discover deposits like Ivana in this cluster zone that Nico mentioned before. We are seeing on this map only 2 of those zones, Ivana North and Ivana Central, located at 20 and 10 kilometers north of Ivana. But we have another 2 lower advanced projects like Ivana East, 10 kilometers to the northeast, and Cuatro, located 20 kilometers to the southwest. And the goal is to test those 4 targets as soon as possible, trying to prove that we have potential to comprise more deposits along this district. That, remember, we are all this zone is just the southern portion of a 140 kilometers trend that comprise the entire Amarillo Grande district.
So it's, so it looks like we've got a lot of work still underway. We'll have a lot of results coming in. I think the next few months are going to be really key here in trying not just to grow the deposit Ivana deposit that we have now, but also announcing drill results in terms of making additional deposits along this trend. And it'll be interesting to see over the coming months. I think this is a real potential inflection point for the company, and that as we make additional discoveries, I think that's where the value really is going to be with Amarillo Grande. That's proving out our thesis. I mean, like I said at the outset, this is a very unique project with incredible potential. Of course, there's easy access and great provincial infrastructure that's in place. The setting, the fact that it's comparable to Kazakhstan makes it very unique. I think we've been able to prove out that the competitive nature of this deposit, in that, the PEA establishes that it's potentially viable. We've got a deposit already there. And I think now over the next month or 2, as we continue to put drill results out, we're going to be able to prove out that, hey, look, how can we grow this deposit relatively quickly. And then in the second half of the year, the idea is to take all the results of the exploration and begin to put together a pre-feasibility study so that next year around this time, we can be in a position where we can make a production decision going forward. And with that, I'd like to open up, turn it back to Will, and we can take questions from everybody.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen. That's a very thorough and insightful presentation. We're now going to move to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And if you're interested in asking a question and you're logged into the Zoom app or web platform, you can submit your questions to us directly in the Q&A module. We've already received a few questions, so let's get started with those. The first one here is asking, what do the latest drill results mean for the project? I know you touched on that, but it might be worth expanding.
Well, the word expanding is it, Guillermo?
Well, it's just, as I mentioned, what we are trying to do at Ivana deposit, we want to expand the resource as much as we can before going to a pre-feasibility, and when you start to close the area and focus in how you can mine and processing that material. So we are trying to expand the deposit and recognize the entire zones for potential future study. And this is the main goal, and we prove it. We knew that based on previous results that we could expand to the west, and now the results are confirming our programs.
Very good, thank you. Second question, when will the feasibility study begin?
Like we said in a presentation, we expect the feasibility study to begin sometime in the second half of this year, and we'll expect it to last approximately about 10 months.
Great. Also, there were some delays related to the last results, and we're wondering what the status is now. And do you expect any further delays going forward?
Well, yeah, there were delays, frustrating for all of us, for investors, I imagine, and it's for management, for us too. But sometimes things are beyond your control. I think, so you can understand the nature of it. When we drill and we get the results, we get the samples get prepped in Argentina in the lab, and then they get shipped to Canada, actually to Vancouver, where we have labs that are very proficient in analyzing, uranium mineralization. So the actual shipping has been really slow because of the pandemic, number one, because also of all kinds of transportation and supply chain issues. So we seem to have overcome that part. And then the lab itself was relatively backed up. Not just for us, for a lot of mining companies, but I think they've been able to resolve that. So with this, I've been reassured that, we've got our first batch out, and then the next batches that we've sent are going to continue. We should have regular news flow over the next coming weeks here.
Great, thanks, Nico. The next question, do you have a working relationship with the Argentina government?
Not a working relationship. We have a relationship with the government, both the provincial government, and which regulates the work that we do there, and the federal government, of course, is very aware of what we do, and we're also very involved with the industry in Argentina. I don't know what else to add, Guillermo.
No, I mean, we maintain contact with them. For sure, due to pandemic times, we're limited, but we, as you mentioned, I mean, the company always maintain a relationship more with the province, with the provincial government, rather than federal, but we maintain those contacts.
Great, thank you. Next, following question is, are you in communications with any majors?
Majors have been kicking our tires and taking a look. I have no issue with having anybody have a look at the project we got. We're very proud of what we're doing. We're open and transparent about it, but we're not in a position right now to want to wheel and deal at all. I believe that the relatively low cost nature of our exploration programs can yield tremendous value for our shareholders if we're successful in proving out what our thesis is here. You know, if we go from 23 million pounds to 50 or 75, whatever that number might be, I think that's where the real upside here is. And, you know, this is going to get proven over the next few months here. So by all means, yes, there are majors who are obviously attracted attention. We'll show our project, but I think any kind of wheeling and dealing, because we're not going to be the ones that are going to take it into production. We're going to need an experienced miner in uranium that's going to, you know, team up with us, or we sell it to them, whatever the best situation is for Blue Sky at that time, and then be able to move it forward. So that's it.
Great. The following question is, what are your expectations for the next round of funding?
We're relatively well funded. However, we will need to raise some funds in the coming time. I expect, you know, when we kind of determine more specifically our exploration plans for over the next few months here, and you know, set terms and get approval from our board. When we set terms, I think we should be raising funds in short order.
Great. And I guess that would lead into, there's how does one get on the president's list for the next financing?
Oh, just fire an email to us at info@blueskyuranium.com, or either me or Guillermo, or contact Sean Perger. All that contact information is on the website, and we'll definitely keep you on our list and keep you appraised of private placements, financings, and other information that the company puts out.
Great. Next question. What is planned, or what are the milestones we should be looking for the next 3 quarters?
Well, the next 3 quarters, like I said during the presentation, are absolutely they're exciting, and they're very key in that we're in a phase right now where we're drilling to find additional uranium. That's always a very exciting phase of any exploration company. And I think, you know, having our first sniff here results that we announced yesterday, it's exciting to see that the deposit that we have looks like it will grow as we continue to drill out to not just the Ivana deposit, but stepping back and drilling over the coming couple of months here, the various targets that surround the Ivana deposit, and seeing those results come back. I think that's going to be a very exciting phase for the company, where potentially its value can change quite dramatically. And then in the second part of this year, as we move towards a pre-feasibility study, that's going to be really a key part too, because that's really setting up the company for being in a position to make a production decision, and we'll be in that position hopefully by this time next year.
Very good. This investor would like to say congratulations on the recent drilling and enlargement of the Ivana deposits, and wants to know how the value, these increases may affect the value of the company in dollar terms.
Well, I don't think that we can state the dollar terms. We need to do another economic study before we do something like that. But I think at this point, suffice to say that it looks like we're adding value, and with more results, if they continue to come back like that, you know, we should continue to see that value continue to increase. Very
good. And the last question here I see, and I think you said it already, but worth restating, who is the best person to contact for more information?
For more information, best person to contact is Sean Perger. He manages investor relations for the company. But by all means, both Guillermo and I are readily accessible. Happy to answer any of your questions. So reach out and give us a shout.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, gentlemen, and thanks for joining today's webinar, everybody. The webinar recording will soon be made available on Blue Sky's website. If you have any additional questions that have not been addressed on this webinar, please feel free to email us at bluesky@rbmilestone.com. Again, that's bluesky@rbmilestone.com. Thanks again, and this concludes the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.